Hello everybody. Today's tutorial is going to be about how you can create an animation to where your player has different attacks every time you press the attack button. So we're going to get right to this. Now you can use this same procedures on your mobs to give them different idle animations, to give them different attacks, and so forth. Now, when you open up your Atavism, you're going to search for your animator, and by default, this is my animator that I'm using, the one that came with Atavism. You may be using a different animation controller, but I'm using the one that came with Atavism to make it a lot easier for you guys. When you open it up, it's going to look similar to this, with the exception of that the attack is just going to be a regular state instead of a state machine that I've got here. Okay. What you're going to do is delete the attack state that you have, and then you're going to right click. Hold on a second, let me get back to it. You're going to right click on the gray area and create a substate machine. When you create the substate machine, you're going to rename it to attack. Now, the attack, make sure that it is written exactly as your parameters attack. So in this case, mine is a capital A, lowercase TTACK. So it has to match. Make sure those two matches. I have ran into problems before where I did not do that, and it just would not work. Okay. Once you create your state machine here, you're going to run your transitions from idle and to combat idle. You only need a transition into it. You don't need a transition from it, because you'll do that from within the substate machine. Okay. So make your transitions to attack. Make sure that the has exit time is unchecked. Make sure your conditions are attack is true. And the same thing with your combat idle. You want to make sure, you're going to click the little arrow there, that the attack is true and the has exit time is unchecked. Alright, so once you have done that, you want to come over here and make a new parameter by clicking the plus here. Right click, and you want to make an integer parameter. Okay? Make sure it's an integer parameter. In this sample, or in this scenario, I called my integer parameter ANIMID, which stands for animation ID. Okay, you can call it whatever you want to call it. Just make sure, just remember what it is, what's it's called, because you're going to use it in a code later. Alright, now the next step is to go into your state machine that you've created. And what you're going to see when you first open it up is you're going to see an entry, any state. You're going to see this up base layer, and you're going to see the exit. I always move my exit to the right, and then these are the different animations that I'm going to want to play. Okay, so basically what you'll do is go in and find all the animations that you want to play and just drag and drop each and every one of these. Okay, once you drag and drop them and everything, make sure you just try to put them into a nice uniform line like this. That way it's makes sense to you. Then, once you have them in, the first one that you drop, a lot of times you're going to see that this orange one will be the up base layer. Okay, if that is so, go to your first animation and just right click and make sure you set that as the layer default state. That way the orange one will go to this one first. Okay. And then you're going to run a transition, make a transition to your second one, make a transition to your third one, make a transition to your last one. And then you're going to make transitions on each of them to the exit. Okay? Once you have done that, not the orange one because you can't do nothing with it, but you're going to go to the second one and click the arrow. And you're going to put in your parameter, animation ID. Make sure it's spelled and looks exactly the same. And you're going to put equals 1. And then you go to your next animation and you're going to put your parameter equals 2. And you're going to go to this case, last one, animation ID should be equals to 3. I don't know why I have that there. Okay. Then you go to your exit. You're going to click your arrow. Let's go to the first one. Okay, so the first one's not going to have anything. Okay. The next one, make sure each and every one of these has exit times. Okay. So basically what you're saying is once it goes into the entry, it finds one of these, it's going to play the animation, and then it has an exit, and then it goes exit, and it goes back into your main layer. Okay. Now this one, I don't know why I have this here, but this is incorrect. So we're going to highlight that, and we'll hit minus and delete it. Okay. So now that we've got that all set up, the next thing we need to do is we'll hit the base layer, go back to the base layer, and you want to highlight your state machine, and you want to add a behavior, okay, and you're going to add a new script. When you add a new script, you're going to want to call it something that you can remember. Mine is called random animation behavior. Now, I'm going to open this up in my Microsoft Visual Studio, and this is the code, and I'll actually copy and paste this in the forum with the tutorial. That way you guys can see it, but I want to explain this. When you first open up this state machine code, it's actually going to have everything written out for you, but it's going to be commented out. What you're wanting to do in this case is you're looking for the on-state machine enter. And it's override public void is going to be commented out, so just remove the comments off of that, and then you have your bracket, and then you want to put animator.setInteger, and then your parentheses, quotation, your parameter, which was animation ID, which is what we called it, quotation, comma, random.range, parentheses, 0, comma, 4, parentheses, and colon, and then put your bracket. That's it. That's all you got to do. So what we're saying is the animator is going to, it has an integer from 0 to 4. It's going to choose a number from 0 to 4. Once it chooses a number, that number will go into the actual substate machine and pick which one randomly to play. You can have as many as you want. You can have 10, you can have 15, but just make sure you put that in here to coincide. So, like if we have 15, you would want to put 0, comma, 14 or whatever. Okay. So we've got that done. That is assigned to that, so we're all good. And we are going to go in the game and we're going to check this out, make sure that everything is working correctly. Oh, can't find world, so we are going to restart. Make sure, I don't know why that does that. Sometimes it just finds the world and sometimes it does. But usually once I restart this, it does good. By the way, I'm not set up on the cloud right now, but I will be later on. There we go. Works great. Alright, so there's my character. She has a nice little axe. You guys don't hate on me because this is so generic, but let's go find something to kill here. Alright, we got a little piggy there. So we're going to go over to the little piggy. Now keep in mind, we're looking for 4 different types of animations. Alright, so we're going to hit our attack, which is 1. There's 1. Okay, play the same thing. Oh, there's 1. There we go. Right swing, right swing. And there's a block. And there's a left swing. So as you see, we've added. I'll kind of show you what's going on here if I can. Okay, so right now we're in combat obviously, there we go. Perfect. Now, you know, I can change any of those animations. I think that block looks a little dorky to me, but it looks that looks good. It works perfectly. Let's go ahead and stop this. Okay, so you can do the same thing with your mobs. As long as it has an animator attached to it. And with your mobs, you could do, you know, instead of the attack, you could make it do an idle. I think that's what I did with one of my mobs. And if you guys want more insight to this, I can put another tutorial up just doing mobs as well. Now, here's the question for the awesome guys that code a lot better than I do, because I suck at coding. If you know what I'm talking about, what I'd like to do is, once it gets in the SubStateMachine, how can you add a sound by going to the add behavior? Now, see, I've tried to do that here. I'm not exactly sure, you know, it doesn't work. So I should be able to click each one of these and add a behavior, add a new script, and have each one of these play a sound. If you know the answer to that, please reply, and if it's a script or whatever the case may be, please feel free to share, because that is one of my questions. I've looked all over the place and I can't figure it out quietly, but I am still trying to play around with it. So if you guys do know the answer to that, please help me out. Alright, that's it for today. Hopefully the next tutorial that I will be doing is how to create UMA content from scratch. We'll see you next time.